Hi everyone. Right, I'm just checking that I've got everything set up right. Checking that I can see it on my screen. And we'll just give everybody a chance to come and join us in the classroom. And we'll just give everybody a chance to come and join us in. Turn myself down. Oh, Michelle's here. Hi Michelle. She says lovely day. It is. So if you are UK based and you're still here today on this glorious sunny day, well done. You are hardcore. Wouldn't blame you at all not being here on a sunny day. We have short summers. Let's see. Oh, Alison's here. Alison, is it warm and sunny in your shed today? Jenny's here. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Debbie from Florida. Oh, early morning. Early morning for you. Hi, Sandra. It's nice to see everybody. All these names popping up. Oh, hi, Viv. Hi, Yana. Lovely to see everybody. Oh, and Anna. So really familiar names now popping up in these groups. Oh, hi, Bev. Nice to see you. Nice to see you all. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes, give people a chance to find it in the group. Oh, and Eva. Hi, Eva. Yeah, I did a live class on Friday, and I was struggling to see the comments actually. I can see them today, but yeah, there's a slight delay and then they're disappearing fast. If I miss any questions or comments today, I will try and catch them later. Oh, Alison said she's melting already. See, you just can't win with some people. Freezing all winter, melting in the summer. We're not used to the warmth though, are we? Oh, hi, Jill. Hi, Jill. Nice to see you. When we had that recent heat wave in the UK, it was my daughter's graduation. It was 40 degrees. Oh, wow. And my daughter had on the full gown and the hat. It was the hottest I think I've ever been in my life. Debbie's had to set her alarm very early this morning for the class in Florida. Well done, Debbie. Big thumbs up to you. I'm not going to tell you what time I woke up this morning. It's Sunday. What can I say? Now, I'm expecting a fairly small group today because quite a lot of overseas, so the time doesn't necessarily sit well if you're in Australia or America or whatever. A lot of those will be catching up later, which is fine. And as you know, the recording stays in the group. And also, a lot of UK people have messaged going, oh, I can't catch it this afternoon. I don't blame you. It's sunny, it's gorgeous. Get out there and catch up later when you can. Yeah, COVID. This is, do you know, I think the only time in 10 years that I've had to cancel or postpone a class was because of COVID. And this latest variant, it seems to have gone round and caught out all the smug ones that says, well, I haven't had it yet. I was beginning to think I had this kind of stellar immune system. And then my husband had to go into the office and brought it home, gave it to me for my birthday and my wedding anniversary, just made it to my daughter's graduation by the skin of my teeth. And actually, in the ceremony in the cathedral, I would say half the room was coughing. So if I hadn't had it by then, I would have done. And I was a bit cocky to start with because I tested positive quite early because my husband had it. And I thought, oh, this is fine. I've had worse hangovers. This is all right. And then a nurse I was speaking to, she said, wait till day 4. And yeah, sure enough, felt quite dreadful. And also, I couldn't think straight. Sorry, I'm not really whinging. Well, I am a bit. I'm really just explaining why I had to postpone the class because I just couldn't think straight. And even when I rescheduled the class and put the dates online, I got them wrong because Debbie got in touch and she said, have you still got COVID brain or do I need more coffee? I was like, no, it's me. I'm an idiot. So, you know, it's taken a while actually, but yeah, if you haven't had it, I think this new variant is going around scooping up everybody who hasn't had it. Right, I think we're up to a few in the group now, so we'll make a start. I keep getting a message on mine saying the broadcast has been paused. I've no idea. Does everybody see it all right? Oh, it's back on now. I don't know. It kept doing this on Friday. You know, Facebook, it's kind of got its own rules and little quirks sometimes. Right. On that note, if I do lose my connection and I disappear, I'll either try and come back or, complete another day. See, it's saying it now. Can everybody see all right? Maybe just give me a little thumbs up and make sure that we're kind of broadcasting okay. Yeah, I've got a little delay, but I'll just keep watching out for that. So we'll probably go for about 2 hours today. I never give an exact time. I just think we'll see how we get on. And oh yeah, everyone's giving me thumbs up. So I don't know why mine keeps saying it's interrupted, but anyway, we'll keep going. So we usually do about 2 hours because then it's nearly kind of 1 o'clock here in the UK. So the recording, of course, stays in the group afterwards. So if you need to go off and do something part way through, or you want to catch up and watch again and just remind yourself, the recording will stay there kind of indefinitely until Facebook decides to change the rules or whatever. Now, today's art is going to be very, very loose and messy. I'm not really using any stencils. I'm using only a couple of stamps today, and one of those I've kind of carved myself. So we're not relying on any kind of manufactured stencils or stamps. We are going to be making all of our own marks and layers today and building it up layer by layer. Oh, somebody said the replay is usually much less choppy. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps saying mine keeps saying its broadcast is interrupted, but then it comes back on. But yeah, I think you're right. When you play it back, it's usually much smoother. Where was I? Right, lots and lots of layers. So kind of drying time is key. So we're just going to take it slow today, give these layers chance to dry. Acrylic paints are fast drying anyway, especially when it's warm like it is here in UK at the minute. So fairly fast drying. You might want to get a heat gun though, just to kind of speed that up. What we don't want to be doing is putting wet on wet, because that's when we get blending and then we get mud. So we want lots of layers, but we make sure they're dry. So you might have to grab a heat gun. Oh, I'm just reading a comment there. Debbie said a couple of pauses, but it's fine now. Yeah, well, I've got my Wi-Fi booster on. There's nobody else in the house at the minute. It's blissfully peaceful, I can tell you. So we'll just see how we go. Now, in the file section, I've pinned a few things for you already. So one of the pages I photographed completely step by step there, okay? So you've got that in the file section. It's pinned as well at the top of the group, so you can, if you want to, download and print that. You don't have to. I know a lot of you like those in front of you, and so do I, to be honest, because sometimes I forget what I did. I also added this one, because this one is how this page began. So it's interesting to see how those layers then become this. So I put that one in there for you as well. We've also, and this is where we're going to start today actually, with some mark making on a page. So you've also got that there, which I kind of do things like that retrospectively. So I look at what I've used on the page and then I kind of put it all onto a sheet so we can all see the same thing. Now I'm going to be doing some mark making on a bit of ledger paper. You might want to just grab, if you've got ledger paper or a bit of sheet music, old dictionary page, anything like that. We're going to do mark making on there that we can tear up and use as a bit of collage as well. If you haven't already gessoed some pages, now you don't have to gesso pages, some people never do. I nearly always do. I find paint sits much better on top of gesso. If you haven't gesso pages, you might just like to do that first, and then that can be drying while we're practicing our mark making, ready to paint on. I'm working on loose leaf from a disc bound journal, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So I've got that page gessoed, and I'm working on a page. These are the ones that I took inside my junk journal. So it's a double-sided page, and I've just collaged one half with ledger paper. Now you don't have to. I just like that look of some ledger underneath or some kind of text showing through. So I've gessoed first and then I've just put that on top. So if you want to do that, then you could be doing that now and then it can be drying ready to paint on. And I did gesso another page. Now I don't know if we'll get as far as this all in one session. But I did that just in case. And let me tell you a little bit about the journals I'm working in today. I got these from the Netherlands. Now, the downside of this is postage, especially for us, by the way, since Brexit, it's really affected our postage. But these are lovely journals by Art Academy, Soraya Hanning in the Netherlands. She does a smaller one as well. Now, I know that some of you will be working in the Joggles disc-bound journal, which I really like, but I have filled mine. So I'm onto these Art Academy ones now. So let me just show you this. Right, this is the page that we'll be working on today. Oh, I seem to be back. Is everybody back? Well, I'll keep going and we'll see what happens. Okay, so this one here, this is the one that you have got on the step-by-step sheet. This kind of technique. Now this page I did in my journal and I really didn't like it. It was a messy page and then I got really careless with it because I didn't like it. So I started to use it for just practicing lettering on, things like that. So it just became a real mess. So I just started covering it up with the layers and the mark making and all the scribbles and now I like it. So it's just a really nice technique for covering up pages as well. And you can do this sort of thing large or small. So here it is on a much smaller scale. Okay, so it works on either size. Now let's just talk supplies and then you can get a few things ready. And these are the paints that I'm mainly using today. And you know, I do vary what I use. These are Paper Artsy frescoes. And these are nice because you get lots of kind of ready mixed pastels in here, but you can use any. I've also got my kind of favourite Dina Wakeley's on the side as well. So I'm probably going to use a little bit of a mixture. I'm using the Amsterdam white because this is a really nice opaque white and all whites are not equal, but I really like that one. So those are paints. You can use whatever you have. I'm going to be using a mixture of flat brushes. I just like working with these flat brushes. I've got my white pen, Posca, and I've got a Unipen 0.2, but it doesn't matter as long as it is something permanent. I've got a Stabilo pencil. I'm also going to use, and I'm using Faber-Castell polychromos, but any kind of coloured pencils that sit on top of acrylic paint. I really like the polychromos. I find them, they don't break, they're not too soft, but you get really rich colour with them, and they sit really well on top of acrylic paint. I'll probably add a bit extra with my Distress crayons. Anything you have for those top layers, so it might be Stabilo Woodies or Scribble Sticks or just oil pastels, anything to build up those top layers. I've got my archival ink pad and I've got a couple of stamps. Now I'm just using some really small little texture stamps there, so nothing kind of specific. I couldn't say that then. Nothing kind of specific, just little tiny texture stamps that we can use as some top layers. Now I'm going to do some mark making with ink. And for this, I'm using a permanent ink. This is really a fountain pen, like a drawing ink. It doesn't really matter. It's just that if it's water soluble, you've got to be careful when you paint next to it or on top of it, because obviously it's going to blend it in. The other thing you could do the mark making with is water down. If you water down your black paint, you'll get a very similar effect. So if you want to gather those supplies, I'm going to turn the camera now so that you can see what I'm doing. So it's best if you look away for a minute while I do that, because it gets a bit wobbly on the camera. I'm going to make sure that I can get everything in the right place for you to see, and then give you a couple of minutes to gather your supplies. Oh, just one other thing here, and let me just show you this. I'm going to use this little bamboo for doing some mark making with the ink. This is literally a plant support cane out of the garden, you know, just like ones you buy in the garden centre, and then with a Stanley knife or something carved off at one end, and it just makes a little dip pen. You don't need that, obviously. Now, some of you might have done this, because can't remember, in one of the classes before we did this. So some of you may have those. You can even use any normal dip pen, or just the wrong end of a paintbrush. So it doesn't have to specifically be something like the bamboo pen, but if you've got one, if you've got that kind of thing, then you might want to use it. Right, I'm going to move the camera. So if you want to get things ready, and give me a moment just to change this around. Okay, I think that's okay. So for those of you who haven't got those pages gessoed, if you want to do that, I'm going to start by putting some black paint on one of the pages. I want this to dry, so I'm going to do that first. And if you're using your little handout, you'll see that's what I've got here. So I'm just going to put those loose patches on the page, and then it can dry, because obviously I don't want to blend anything else into that, because that would just give me kind of grey mud. If you keep that brush dry, you get these very rough patches. What we don't want is solid squares. Solid squares are really tricky to blend other colours next to. I just want these very, almost dry brushing that on. So if you want to do that, and then put that to one side to dry, and then by then we'll be able to paint other colours comfortably on top of that, without kind of you know, blending in and making muddy grey. Now I'm moving now onto a, oh, let me just grab it. I'm going to move on to this loose sheet of card. You could do this on a page in your journal if you want to. We're just going to go through all of the marks that we can use. Let me just find that sheet. There's the download. So we're just going to go through those marks on the page first, and then this is like your own kind of library of marks. If later on you come up with more marks to add to the page, which inevitably you will, then you can add them to that library as well, and then you've got a constantly kind of updating library of marks. So we're just going to recreate some of these on this page. So I'm going to get some more black paint, and I've got my black ink ready. you just kind of want to play along and do this as well. And as I say, if you want to do this in your actual journal, then do. That is the sort of thing I would do. I'm not precious about my journal pages. I don't want them all to be perfectly pretty. I'm quite happy to do things like this just on a page as well. Now this is why these little flat brushes work well for something like this as well. You can quite easily paint just squares with just a couple of strokes. Now sometimes I layer those up with two colours, but I'll show you how we can do that on the page. Just for now, that's all we need there. And then of course my old favourite, the finger dots. And I like to use this finger, just so it's not too heavy-handed. And all of these things, they don't have to be in black on the page. This is just a nice bold way of doing the marks to practice. You can do this in colour, you can do this in white. And then this large circle here, I'm doing that with a flat brush as well. If you just keep going round, you'll get that nice loose look rather than a perfect neat circle. I'm just brush hunting at the minute. Doesn't matter how many brushes you have, you always have a favourite one. Do you find that? Now I'm just changing to a slightly different shape brush because for printing, now it does help if you want to do this printing, you might just need a little bit of water. Let me just show you that. I'm just adding a little bit of water to the paint there. And this is the sort of thing you can do in lines or in groups. I'm moving to my ink. So this is, as I say, it's let's see what it's called. Rohrer and Klingner. It's a drawing ink actually, but it is a permanent ink. But again, you can do this in watered down paint. Some of you might have a fluid paint like DecoArt do a really nice fluid paint. So it doesn't really matter. And here's my little bamboo. Or you could, I'm just reaching for another brush. So you could do this with the so-called wrong end of a paintbrush. So it doesn't really matter. But I also like, as well as these circle shapes, I like big, bold crosses. Or this way. And then while I've got some ink on here, just a few splats as well, great for top layer. So this is my distress crayon, you know, or whatever you have. You might have scribble sticks or oil pastels. Something like that. Okay, and I seem to be back again. Okay, so can you just give me a thumbs up, everyone? Can you still see what we're doing? The internet does seem a bit dodgy today. Yeah, okay, so I'm getting some thumbs up there. Right, we're still there. We'll see how it goes. If it doesn't kind of pick up, I might just stop the class and try it, turn my internet booster off and try it the other way. But we'll see how it goes. Right, I'm moving now to look to my Stabilo pencil, or just something like a dark pencil. So when I do this kind of scribble, I will hold it at this end and almost just kind of twist it as I'm drawing. It gives me that very kind of loose. You know, we don't want to be too neat here. We want to be deliberately kind of messy. And we can also do these kind of repeating marks. So that's all just with the Stabilo. Yeah, some of you saying it keeps pausing. What I might do in a moment, let's just finish this mark making page and then I might stop this one, turn my internet booster off and just try it the other way and just see if it's any better, if that's all right with everyone. We'll just finish this page anyway, and that would be a suitable place to pause. That means you've got to refresh the page in the group to see that I'm coming through live on a separate recording. Right, now here, look, I'm sure there's a proper name for this, but I can't think what it is, this fake handwriting. So this is almost like writing, but it's nonsense. Now I'm doing that with my Unipin. This is just a permanent waterproof marker. Right, so that's nonsense. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a way of putting marks on the layers as we build them. Now I'm going to just put some painted squares on there as well. Because I'm going to switch now to some pencil crayon. So now I've got my polychromos. And this is a really nice way of putting like these coloured layers on the top. Now the reason why I put those painted little squares in there is then I quite often use my pencil to go around marks that I've already made. You see how I'm doing that more than once? I don't want it to be all kind of neat. I want to be kind of loose with it. We can do that. We can have those kind of cross hatching as well. Now on here, we have this marks on ledger. I'm going to do that separately in a minute on some ledger or anything like sheet music or whatever you have. And then this is my little hand carved stamp. I lost it for a while. It went missing in action. And I was a little bit bereft without it. I was too lazy to do another one. Anyway, it turned up. Anything like that is good, especially if you put them in groups. This is just another little one. I think originally this was an Andy Skinner set, but I've got it loose on its packaging now, so who knows. Okay, so there we have a whole page of marks, and as you come up with more, then you can add them to that page as well. And then I'm going to move on to my ledger paper next. So just keep this one handy during the class, because if you have a few moments, or you're waiting for other people to finish what they're doing, or you're waiting for paint to dry, that's when you can go and add extra marks to there, build up your library. Now I'm switching to ledger and some ink. This is the sort of thing I would do like a whole page of. I won't do that now, of course, in class, but if I'm doing this at home, I do a whole page of this, and then I've got it to use, and it appears in little bits on, let me just show you on other pages. It's just really handy. Here, look, I've got all sorts of bits on here. It means you've already got the marks on there to tear up and use as collage. So you can do this with, if you've got your bamboo stick, or if you want to use the wrong end of a paintbrush, or just your regular dip pen. And generally with these marks, I keep the marks themselves very simple. So I will use repeating lines, repeating circles. It's putting them in groups that makes them easy to use. See, that is just simple repeated lines. Don't try and be too neat. I do think generally neatness is overrated. The nice thing about this bamboo, if you haven't done one of these from a previous class, it holds quite a lot of ink up the inside. So you dip once, but you get quite a lot of pattern from it. And if you make a start on this now, again, if you've got a bit of time on your hands during the class, if you've got you're waiting for something to dry, add a few more marks to your page. It's something that you can use on. I use it on all of my projects, not just my art journaling. I use it on bits of this get torn up and added to everything. I'm just looking for this little book I did here, look, just to show you. I did quite a few kits of these as well that some of you may have. So you can see there, look, all of the marked paper's just torn up and made into little mini pages. It's really useful stuff. Okay, now that will have time to dry. So when I want to use that a little bit later on, and that will be ready to go. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes to catch up there and finish those marks. As I said, you can always add a few more during the class if you find you've got a bit of time. Okay, so is everybody okay? Has that kind of recording settled down a bit now? I'm kind of loath to interrupt it in case I can't get it back at all. Facebook is just a bit glitchy and a bit temperamental anyway. I keep getting this message on Facebook saying I have to add some kind of two-step security by a certain date in August, but I daren't do it because I know some people have done it and they've been locked out their account anyway. So I daren't do it before sort of lives and things because I might not get you back. But I know I'm going to have to do it, otherwise they're going to lock me out of Facebook anyway. Right, people are giving me thumbs up, so let's just keep going, and then hopefully we'll still have you. Okay, now I'm going to start on my slightly smaller page. You can start on any page. So this is not the one that we've put the black marks on. We'll come on to that one. So just give you a minute just to catch up there, to do the marks and get your page ready. Oh, Sandy said she switched to her phone and it's better. Yeah, I don't really know what it's doing. As you said before though, when you do the replay, it looks all smooth. Facebook is just a bit glitchy, I think. So I'm just going to start on this page. And you have got, this is the very kind of early layers. So I put that as a photograph. It's pinned at the top. It's in the, what do they call it at the top now? Featured posts, I think they call it now. And one of the things I'm going to do first is mix myself a pastel pink. So I've got this red. This is cherry red. This is from Tracy Scott, the Paper Artsy frescoes. Now it also tells you on all of the frescoes, and a lot of paints, most paints do this, it tells you how translucent they are. Now this one is translucent. I don't really want it translucent for layers. I want it to be quite opaque so that layers cover up other layers. So I'm going to mix it with some of my titanium white, and make sure it's titanium white because zinc white is also transparent. I'm going to use that cherry red with some of the white. And the other colours, now this is an aqua. If you haven't got this kind of pale colours, you can easily just mix anything with white to make your pastel shades. I'm starting pastel. I find it much easier to start light and get brighter by adding layers. Or you can use something like the Dina Wakley colours. She has a lot of paler pastel colours as well. So you might have ready-made pastels. If not, you can just mix some. So I'll use some of that aqua. If I want to build that a bit stronger though, I might use something like Deep Sea. And there are really similar colours in the Dina Wakley range. Or in the Amsterdam range, whichever paints you have, you will have very similar colours. So I'm choosing that aqua, but just so I can build it up a little bit stronger, I'm going to have a touch of that as well. And then I'm going to use a yellow. I've got two here. I've got banana and ochre. I'll put a bit of both on. I'm not sure yet which, or I might in fact use a bit of both. Now, as far as colours go, this is a standard sort of triad on the colour wheel. The red, the blue and the yellow is a really standard colour combo, and it always works well. Okay, so there's my pastel pink. You can mix it or you can use ready-made. That looks a bit like Pepto-Bismol. This is really kind of rough patches. So keep it dry on the brush so that you're not painting solid squares. It reminds me of the time my daughter was really ill actually with glandular fever, and it was lockdown, so we really didn't know what to do with her. So my husband rushed into the chemist to buy Pepto-Bismol to see if we could reduce her kind of nausea. He dropped it all over the floor, and it is bright pink, and it went everywhere. And every time I use this colour paint now, it makes me think of the day my husband dropped the Pepto-Bismol all over the floor in the chemist, just before closing time as well. I'm just blending a bit of white into mine, and so just so it's not all one flat colour. Yeah, mine's pretty dry already, actually. Yay for summertime. As long as it's not too hot. So I'm going to add this light blue now. I don't feel you have to copy my colours, by the way. We all have our favourite go-to colours, don't we? So you could do this all in completely different colours. So I'm using this light blue colour. Might even make it a bit lighter with a bit of white. See how I'm overlapping those? And because they are opaque, and the pink is because I've added the white to it, so don't overthink those kind of shapes or layers, just, brush it on. So when I said before, have the kind of darker blue as well. So where you've got those blue patches, you can just build it in. So not the whole thing, just build some into it. I'm really just scrubbing that on. It just seems super quiet out there. I guess you're all just concentrating. Yeah, mine is almost dry there. So a bit of yellow. Now this yellow is translucent. I know that. I'm not going to mix it with white. I mean, it's up to you. Try it and see. It's quite nice how it overlaps. Or blend in a bit of white as you go in if you want to, like I'm doing there. Now with my yellow, I'm going to add one of my big mark making circles there. We'll add a bit more to that later on. Remember, nice and loose, round and round, so you don't end up with that just very neat. You can do that more than once if you like. Now where I did my pastel pink, I'm adding a bit more red to that now. I know then that it's the right kind of colour because it's just a darker shade of what I've already used. I've just added more red to that mix. And now I'm going to start adding some marks. Now you can look back at your library of marks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some of these flat squares. So as long as you do it in a group, let's think, where do I want to put this? Do a couple there. You can always add more in later top layers. So, you know, don't feel you've got to all cram it in at one go. And again with these layers, there's no set order. And one of the ways I would usually work on something like this at home is not necessarily tackle it all in one go. So I might have a page open to one side and I might add a layer one day. And then next day while I'm doing something else, I might look at it and think, oh, I know what that needs. I might add a bit more then and gradually build it up. Just adding a bit to the centre there, just because I can. Now, one of the things I'm going to do next is add some pencil crayon. That's because this is still a bit wet, but pencil crayon will be okay. You can't really ruin your pencil crayon. If I go on now with my Unipin, my proper marker, I could ruin that with wet paint, but pencil crayon, you'll be kind of happy. Okay, I think we just had a blip there, but I seem to be back. It's just going to test my patience this today. Okay, so when we did that little practice page, I said you can use your pencil crayon to go around things that you've already got. Now a lot of this gets covered up. So don't be too precious about what you've got in these layers. And also don't be too inhibited about, with the marks that you're making. We're going to paint over most of it. And what I'm kind of naturally doing here is putting tone on tone. So I'm putting blues on blues. I'm going around my pinks with the kind of reddy pinky pencil. Sorry, I talk in half sentences when I'm concentrating. See how just loose and scribbly you can be there? And the more kind of marks and scribbles you have in these early layers, the more you will have to allow to show through. So you will pick and choose which bits to cover up. As you can see, you've got this in your file. See how much scribbling there is here. There's lots. Now, on some of these little squares and things, they're still quite kind of pastel-y. So I might add a bit of this is the Dina Wakley Ruby. It's a slightly stronger red. What I'm going to do is not cover up the whole thing, just add touches of colour so that those squares aren't just one flat pink. That's giving that a real pop. And you can do that as well with the yellow or with the blue. I'll just give you a moment to catch up there, and then that will also give my page a chance to dry, because what I want to do next is add my kind of fake writing with my pen. So it doesn't have to be a Unipin, any kind of permanent marker would do there. So I'll just give you a minute to catch up. I'm going to have a bit of my tea. It's gone a bit cold now, but tea is tea. Had some builders working at my house this last week, and I can't tell you how many gallons of tea we've got through. It's the backbone of the nation, I think. Okay, I'm just checking if mine's dry. I think it's dry enough. I know which bits are wet. These strong red bits are wet, so I will avoid those. Now, this fake writing, this is about, if you've had kids, or if you've seen kids when they pretend to write before they can write. It's that kind of thing. And it is also keeping it really, let me just show you back on here. You can chuck in the odd scribble and the big loop as well. So it is keeping it loose. This kind of action, you can add little extra bits. Okay, so we're going to put that as much as you want to, all over. Actually, I might just give mine a little blast with a heat gun. Right, I hope this is not too noisy. If you want to do the same, And I've got a wet bit there, so I just need to avoid that bit with my pen. And then you can start your fake writing. You can do real if you'd rather. Reminds me of when the kids are little and they proudly give you their list for Santa, and it's written like that, and they won't tell you what's on the list because they just say, "Read it, mummy," and you can't. So one of the things we're going to do next is either with, your opaque, something like your titanium white, or even with some gesso, which gives you a really opaque layer, we're going to cover some of this up. Now, it's up to you how much you knock back with the white. I know sometimes people say, why put all the layers in if you're going to cover it up? If you haven't got the layers underneath, you don't get that nice depth on top, definitely. So mine went from that kind of thing to that. You can see there's quite a difference there. So we're going to knock it back with some white, but then we're going to put some top layers on top of that and build it up. So you can do this with, sometimes fingers are quite nice for this layer, finger painting it on, or with a flat brush. Now just start with a small amount, because then you've got a bit of control over what you're choosing to cover up. Now you might pick out certain shapes to leave showing. So if there's bits that you like, so your fingers blend paint really well. So don't be frightened to blend that in using your hands. And then finger dots. And while that white is wet, you can also scratch into it if you want to. It feels like a little bit more pattern and texture there. So I'm going to put some more layers on top of this in a minute. So when you've done that, if you've got a heat gun, you might just want to dry that off a little bit. Just don't fry your page. There we are. I don't generally use heat guns actually. I think things dry quick enough, but just sometimes in a class it's useful. I'm just going to do some little print marks with the paintbrush. I'll just give you that moment to catch up so that I'm not speeding ahead. So I picked up my red there and I've added a little bit of water. Remember for printing, it just helps. And then you're just looking at where you can add some extra marks. And you can do that in different colours if you want to. This is all getting quite bright and quite light, and I do find now going on with the black, the ink, some black stamping, some black scribbling really helps to kind of bring it all down again. I'm going to do the ink last because that does need to dry. I can't really touch it once I've put that on, but I can do other things. I can do some stamping. I'm going to use my little hand carved one. It really matters what stamp you use there. It's just putting those groups of marks in. I don't think you don't overthink that. Put things in groups. It always kind of works well, the little crosses. And in a moment, I'll just give you a chance to catch up, then I'm going to move on to my Stabilo pencil. So again, keeping that really loose. We do sort of tend to want to go in very neat with things, don't we? It's kind of built into us, but keep it nice and loose. And then next I'm going to do some with my white pen, but I'll just give you a moment to catch up there. While you're doing that bit, I just want to talk to you about the quote I put on the top. I'm just reaching for it now. And this is from, I'm using these Dina Wakley, the typed ledgers. There's some really nice quotes in there. I mean, you can type your own out, and I often do, but sometimes if I'm feeling a bit lazy, there's some really, really good quotes in there to use. There's just a little bit of white marking on the top there. And then the black ink. Now remember, once you've done this, it becomes really difficult then to handle, unless I suppose you could do it with the heat gun. So ink, and also something like the Distress crayon or whatever you're using, I can add some extra marks. Just put a bit of extra ink there, because if you want to, you can dribble it, which is something I did in my original one there. You might need to deliberately put extra ink there to allow you to tip that and allow it to actually dribble. I'm just add a few splats. I'm just going to put the lid on my ink before I have any major catastrophes. Find my scissors. So you can either print out a quote, you can type one yourself, or if you've got these, I know these were really popular when Dina brought them out. I'm chopping them up a little bit smaller just to make them fit better on my page. I'm not going to stick these down yet because my page is too wet, but I will do. So I'm just going to give you a moment to finish that off, and then we're going to do the next page. That's the page that we already started with the black marks. But this is the point where you might just want to have a little, clean your brushes, tidy up your space a little bit. Otherwise, it does start to get a bit chaotic, doesn't it? So just take a couple of minutes to sort out your workspace. That one needs to go to one side, or maybe working in a different journal or whatever. If you're working in the journal, you need to turn the page, then just give that a blast with a heat gun. Here's the original that I did in my larger disc-bound journal. So how are we doing? Are we good to make a start on the second page? Do you need a couple more minutes? Need a toilet break? There's usually somebody's asked for the loo at this point. I'm just going to clean my brushes for a moment. I am a brush slob. I own up to that one. I leave them in water for days, and I know I shouldn't. Right, I've sort of cleaned them. Right, are we good to go on the next page? This is kind of similar techniques. I'm working on a slightly bigger scale, and as we get further into the page, this is where we can use bits of the ledger that we did the marks on. So that's when we're going to tear up bits and add that as top layer. And this time I'm going to start using similar colour palette because I've already got it there. I'm going to start with that very pale blue. So if you want to use the same colour scheme, then do. If you haven't got that blue, you can mix a real pastel blue. And if you have got these printed out, you can have it in front of you. And it just helps you to follow those steps if you want to. You can see that it's still been a little bit glitchy on the recording. Like Facebook's been a bit touchy today. I had a little practice earlier, and it said afterwards, your video has been muted in parts because of music that was playing. I wasn't playing any music. So I don't know what was going on, really. Anyway, somebody said the replay often, when it's been like this, the replay is often fine. So I will check that. And usually I do a little edited version of the video as well, get rid of any kind of pauses and unnecessary chatty bits so you can just get on with the art. Okay, so that's just some scribbly blue layers. And I'll go on with some yellow next. I'll just give that a second to dry off and just for you to catch up. A bit more cold tea. Now I'm using a yellow ochre here. I think you can use any yellow really if you want to. In fact, you don't even have to use yellow, but and overlaying it in places. Again, I'm just building a bit of white in. It just stops it going on as a really one flat colour. Just blend it in while it's wet. Now once that's had a moment to dry, I'm going to go in with these. So I'm using that slightly darker blue or something like one of the Dina has got several. There's a peacock, something like that. And I'm going to put these big circles down the side. You know, they're quite bold. You can't be sort of timid about this. If you're going to go for it, you do have to go for it. It's a bit like going on with, you know, if you're putting black on, you can't be timid. You just have to do it. I've got some white. I'm going to go into the middle with the white and just blend it out. And I'm just going to build up some of these layers with a bit of white as well. So already starting to knock back some of that colour that's there. So how are you doing, everybody? Is the pace okay? Are you keeping up all right? I'll wait till I see any comments. There's quite a pause actually before I can see what you say or any feedback. So I'll just wait, see what you say. Now I'm just going to mix a little bit more of that pastel pink. So I'm using that same colour, Paper Artsy colour, mixing some pastel. on the sheet, sort of down here. So we're going to fill in some of these gaps with, because I've left quite a bit around the edge, I'm going to bring in some of that pink. Really keeping it very sort of scrubbing almost with a dry brush. You certainly don't want any water on. You know, you don't want watery paint, that's really tricky to manage. So I've kind of filled in the gaps around the edge, brought it in a little bit here. And then a slightly stronger one because I want to paint those little squares on top. So I want it, not strong red, just a slightly darker. And you can see here on the sheet, that's where I brought them in here. It's like a little group. And then also some of those little squares, but with the yellow. And the centre of these big circles. And then, where I've done these squares here, as we did before, you can take some of the darker, and don't cover the whole thing, we're just adding a little bit. And that actually takes us up to the end of this page here. Well, you can always add more marks if you want to. I might add just some more yellow. Just have a look at your page and think, where have you got a gap? Where does it need a little bit more?